Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of Dale's Rails. I decided to change things up a bit this week. I had a few projects stacking up on me, and you know how it is. When you get started, one turns into two, and two turns into three. Next thing you know, you've done a half a dozen of them without even realizing it. So I actually did too many to all share in one video. So this week, I did have a new arrival for the layout. So, you know, I got an unboxing here. I'll share on this video with you also. And this edition will be about some repairs I made to some of my Marx models and what those features sound like, especially for those of you who are not familiar with them. And this week's Nirvana will be over what the letter designation means on the engines that EMD use. So if you know what those are, please share. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy. Okay, this ended up being a new engine and a caboose that I got for the layout. And this is a model of an engine I don't have a road of yet, and it's a model of an engine I don't have yet. So it kind of fit the bill on two things, and it was a really good price. And you guys looking to break into the hobby, this is an excellent way, especially if you run conventional like I do. You know, most of my stuff is pretty much no frills, but you know, the only frills I really like, you probably know by now, are sounds, and these are easy to adapt sounds to. So if you ever want to do that down the road, it's not a big deal. And you can get some great models. A good way to get an introductory level into the hobby. And you know, a lot of these can actually be modified later on down the road. This model not so much, because this is your typical AC pull more motor in this model, I'm sure. I'm not sure from what year this is from. It's a fairly modern engine. It's probably from the modern era, I'm guessing, or maybe MPC. I'm not really sure. I didn't really look into that part of it. But let me grab my trusty knife here. This is my Smith & Wesson first responder knife. That's what I seem to be using all the time, coincidentally. So this happens to be a model of an engine and that I don't have a version of, the road or the type of engine. This is another item from Trains. You know, it looks like it came in the original styrofoam, but not the original box. So this is an SD9 Seaboard. And, you know, this is, like I say, this is a good way to get into the hobby with spending a minimum amount of money. And it actually even came with a little instruction book, so that's kind of nice. And, you know, this is a pretty low budget model. I'm not sure what era this is from. Maybe it says here 1980. So this is from the Fundimensions era. So this is a good way to get started in the hobby. You know, I wouldn't be too afraid of these MPC era models. They're pretty well built engines for no more than they are. I've had good luck with them. You know, they seem to be on par with some of the post-war. Maybe not quite the quality, but you know, some of these are built real similar. This is built better than some of the end of the post-war era, you know, like some of the Alcos they were built in back then. So the Nerdvana this week, like I said, is on what the letters were that EMD used to describe the locomotive. you know, like this being an SD. So what did that SD stand for? I'm sure you seasoned guys probably all know. But, you know, guys just get into the hobby. This is a good way for them to kind of learn. And the other item I picked up here is a really nice blue and yellow Santa Fe bay window caboose. So I didn't have this version of the caboose to run with my freight set, Santa Fe freight set F units. And so that's really what it's spawned this purchase. You know, I was actually looking for the different style of caboose in this, but, you know, for like the full vision caboose, but this will work just fine. And the SD9 here, if you notice anything different about it, what makes this an SD unit and what that SD stands for. So this little unit here will be pretty much no frills, but you know, I don't have a Seaboard version, and you know, it's kind of a neat looking little engine. I kind of like it when I've seen it, and I think it's going to be a welcome addition to the layout. And it's, you know, just something that's just kind of fun to run, and it's a very inexpensive way to get into the hobby. So I got this at a really good price, and as you can see here, like most of these that I buy, you know, they've had very little run time. So, you know, I wouldn't be afraid about buying any used. And I think we can get this one on this track, and we'll just go ahead and run it around a little bit just to see what it does. I think I'll just run it here with this passenger set I got set up here already, and so far so good. Well, that's a nice, smooth, run a little engine, you know, for a cheap little engine. I mean, for you guys, this is really a good way to break into the hobby. This model I got for a really good price. I mean, I got this for around 60 bucks, so you can't go wrong with that. And so you can get into the hobby pretty economically, and you know, and it's, you see, it's in a really good shape too. It's really good condition, and you know, this is the way it came out of the box, and it wasn't even in a box. It was just in the styrofoam packer that came with the engine originally. So it's in really good shape, and don't be afraid, you know, to buy some of these used models. I've had very good luck. You know, in trains, they're a good company. They'll treat you right if there's something wrong anyway, if it doesn't match a description in any way. So there's not anything to be concerned of, especially, you know, if you're concerned about them getting damaged in shipping or something like that. That happens. They'll make it right with you. So next thing, you know, I've worked on this week while it's sitting right here. You know, I'll see what you guys think. Tops of these were really scratched up, and I was telling you that DecoArt makes some metallics. The silver one I couldn't think of. This was called shimmering silver, and You know, when I first was putting this on there, I thought it was a pretty good match. I mean, these tops were really scratched up, and I thought these were something maybe I could, improve a little bit by using a Scotch-Brite pad. A lot of scratches with, rust scratch marks, mainly on the top here. The sides weren't too bad. And so, I tried this paint out on a small spot first, because it's water-based, so it's easy to take back off. That's what's nice about the acrylics. And before you know it, I had the whole top painted, and I just painted this with an artist brush. And you want to look on there, I'm kind of impressed that there isn't any brush strokes in there. It looks like that's been sprayed on there. That's kind of surprised me. You can see some of the streaky marks here from running the Scotch-Brite pad. There really isn't any marks like that from painting it. I did just make sure I painted in one direction. Even painted the dome. I never did like these domes being all the same color plastic. So now it's got a silver framework like it needs with the window panes. And it did turn out to be a different color when you got done with it. So this here is more kind of I want to say yellowed probably with time. And but I thought this paint, just for putting this on, it was like a little 1/4 inch wide artist brush. And I was pretty blown away how smooth that laid down. It's almost like I sprayed it on there and I put it on with a brush. So that was taking a chance just doing that. So see what you guys think about that. Let you be the judge. I'm okay with it. That tops aren't an exact match. It doesn't bother me. It really improved the looks of the tops of those. Like I say, the sides weren't really scratched up that bad. It was more the roofs. People always kind of cringe when I see this. People store these, they'll put them on top like that. And I'm sure that's how these get scratched up a lot. So it's not a good way to store your rolling stock or your engine, really, to put your wheels on top of the one below it. But that's one project I worked on, just because I had the paint out, I guess, and I wanted to try it, see what you guys think. Next up, we have the repairs I made to a couple of Marx engines. Well, this was bugging me, so while I had this apart, I thought I would just go ahead and film this and show you guys. This is the diesel roar feature in this locomotive. I got them both working. You can see in there, there's a little set of contacts in there, kind of like on the, get in there a little bit closer, like the contacts that you see on the relays of your post-war whistles. It's not focusing very good for some reason. And I just cleaned those up, and that's really all it was that needed to be done. And this is working. They were both working. They just weren't working well enough. This one here still, it's working. You just can't really, it doesn't make enough of a sound. They're a little bit different in design. They're very similar. This one here is a little bit different. This thing just kind of vibrates up and down. And as it doesn't make much sound unless you've got it screwed to the plastic shell. And then that's where it's doing. It's kind of resonating against the shell here with that vibrating. And this is doing the same thing. And I discovered something on this one. It's got a light socket in here. It didn't have a light bulb in it. I don't know if these come with a light bulb originally or not, but this didn't have a light bulb, and I didn't know I could light the cab area of the 1998. This is a motor assembly out of the 1998. It's kind of what they look like. Just got a kind of two-wheel flopping trucks on each end. It looks like a four-wheel truck when the truck sides are on. And that's what these look like here. I don't know if you can still get these. I think there for a while you could still get these replacement truck sides if they broke. but I don't know if they're any longer available. But it's not uncommon for the truck sides here on the power units to break, especially right in here, and break loose. These are screwed in, where the front truck assembly, they're like this. I pulled the truck out. I didn't really need to, but these tabs were already, unbent, because I had, this is a unit that I managed to fly off of my table when it was in the bar room, and it did I don't want to say a header, it did a torpedo into the wall, and then it cracked the front shell, unfortunately. So I cracked this. This is a powered unit that goes with the ABA set for with the passenger set. This is the one that has the diesel roar feature. And like I was telling you, the holes to look for on here that have the screws, this one actually has two here and here. These are the holes that you'll see. I mean, they're even in the dummies here like that. So those holes are in all the engines. It's just if they got screws in there, then you know it's got a diesel roar feature, like I showed. And then the 1998s like this Union Pacific here, it's actually got a screw hole back here. So this one screws in the end, and then one on the top. So that's how they're attached. And I didn't realize these shells on these 1998s, I forgot, these are very thick shells. They almost feel like metal, but they're not. So these are just some things I'd point out to you while I got this apart and looking at it. And when you put power to this thing, you've got power going to the motor all the time, and then this is powered constantly, so it's variable. So just depending on how strong a voltage you have, how much vibration you get out of that. So I'm going to work on this in a little bit more. For some reason, it's working. It's just not. It doesn't make enough noise. It doesn't make enough of a sound difference between this and the motor noise, the motor E unit. So it should be making more sound than that. I'm not really sure how I'm going to be able to adjust it to make any more sound yet. I'm still working on that, because it's not like it's something that's has an adjustment for that. I'm just going to have to do a trial and error thing. So I thought you guys might be interested in seeing what the diesel roar feature is, and that's all it is. It's just a little electromagnetic coil with the contacts that lets this thing vibrate. It just vibrates up and down constantly, and with that, it makes enough of a sound with it screwed to the plastic shell. It resonates off of it. That's all it is. Pretty low techy. Hey, I'm working on a little bit of maintenance here on this engine, and I thought it would be a good time to talk to you guys about this. I've got an issue with these traction tires sometimes on these Marx models. It's rare that I don't think I've ever found one that's missing a traction tire or have broken traction tires or anything like that. It's more of an issue where these can glaze up a little bit and get, hardened a little bit over time. I mean, this is fairly old and it's still real pliable, so I'm really surprised. But, they kind of glaze up. And then, I bought all these 4 or 5 years ago. So back then I didn't know as much as I did now. And, I read somewhere that these were gears, I believe it's Marx where I read this that these plastic gears that they use were a maintenance-free. You didn't have to lubrication. You didn't have to lubricate them because these gears are impregnated with silicone. So they were never required to be lubricated. But, I find over time that sometimes these gears get really dried up and, they seem like they need a little bit of refreshing. So I bought this stuff called Blaster. It's just silicone spray lubricant. And silicone spray lubricant is a great lubricant, especially if you want to use on plastic gear because it is plastic safe. But there are some drawbacks to it that I wasn't aware of at the time.
One of them being is once that silicone gets on something, no matter how much stuff you try to remove it, I'll use alcohol on this. You don't want to use mineral spirits or anything, but alcohol, if you're trying to get all the residual oil or contaminant or grease or anything like that out of there, you want to use probably isopropyl alcohol to do that. And so that's where I'll use that, and especially if I want to remove all any residual grease or oil. But the issue with silicone, no matter how much you try, no matter what you use to try to remove it, it seems like there's always a trace amount that remains behind, and it's one of the drawbacks to using a silicone spray. That residual can be there forever, no matter how good of a job you think you're removing it. And it can feel like you're doing a good job of getting rid of it, but it's amazing how much it will remain behind. So the issue on this model is not so much the traction tires spinning on the tracks that it is that the traction tires are staying in place and the wheels are rotating inside the tire. So I found a good way, if you want to extend the life of your traction tires on any locomotive, even if you're not having this problem, is to found a good use finally for bullfrog snot. And I really use the bullfrog snot on these traction tires that have trouble staying on. Mainly, it seems like the Lionel locomotives are more the issue. People that may not be aware that they've lost a tire, or they have too much problem trying to replace one because it's too challenging for them maybe. They will continue to run these, and not a good idea, because what you're doing is you are, and it might be micro, so you are actually altering the groove in here running those locomotives like that. And that's why you may have issues with tires continuing to stay on, even though you replace them with brand new tires. And if you're having that problem, or this problem here where the tire will spin, or the wheel will spin inside the tire, I find using this bullfrog snot, you just need to apply a little bit, and then you want to install the traction tire while it's still wet. And as a good measure, I let these dry overnight. Give them at least overnight to dry, maybe 12, 24 hours is best. And let them, before you run it, you don't even want to test run it after you do this. And just let those dry on there really good. And you won't have any problems with your traction tires coming off anymore. So if you're not having that much luck with the bullfrog snot to use as a traction tire, it's great for holding them on, and probably a little better than using something like super glue, just because it's still pliable enough. It's going to allow me to pull this tire back off. It isn't going to glue it on there so hard that I'm going to have a lot of labor and time trying to get that tire off of there, all the residual amount back off of that wheel flange. So, what you want to do on these is also, as I get, especially these that become kind of glazed over, is just get a little sandpaper and just, you want to sand these off, and that's going to get rid of that glazing off of there. I mean, the best thing to do is to probably put a new tire on here, but, if you can't find a good traction tire to fit these Marx models, this I found to be a good way to salvage that without needing to, try to find something that's maybe doesn't exist anymore, or it can be a challenge to find it. And this will get you out of that problem real quick. And then if you've never applied this, it's pretty simple to put this bullfrog snot on. You just simply, the way I do it anyway, just put a little tiny bit. Little goes a long way. A little bit on a toothpick or something. And then of course I've got this motor here connected to some transformer test leads here. and you just need to let it run, you know, a little bit. You don't have to have it full throttle wound out, and you just let this run a little bit like that, and get that in place, and then you just simply put this traction tire back on while that's still wet. You want to make sure it goes on without twisting. Make sure it's around all the way. You know, and I'll even go and press it in place a little bit, get it on there, you know, seated real good. Make sure it's seated down in the groove, and just wipe the residual off. And this will be a good way to hold those traction tires onto models that have issues with throwing tires. So it's something I found to work pretty effective, and I'm just passing along in case any of you are interested in trying it. I just find it's a good way to solve a lot of different issues with these models with traction tires. And because this model here is not, its problem wasn't these tires spinning on the rails. The problem was the wheel was spinning inside the traction tire. And imagine, you know, if I'd known the problem with silicone, I'd been a little more careful. I'm thinking I must have got some residual silicone. It's not like I doused these down, but you know, that silicone, even though it's going in here, it can be airborne and get on things. So that's another thing to be concerned about the silicone. But the nice thing about the silicone, not just so much for plastic geared items, but anything in general, I find it's good to use for like throttle cables, for like your mower, or even motorcycles or something like that, just because it's a lubricant that gets in there and it will not attract contaminants, dirt and dust particles. Oil, when you do, if you use oil in that situation, it's just a matter of time. Just because oil attracts those kind of contaminants, it's gonna gum back up, and you're gonna have to redo it again. So, nice thing about the silicone is it lasts a lot longer without gumming things back up. So there's the pros and cons. I mean, there's always trade-offs with everything. Those are some of the things that I thought would be worth pointing out to you. I've since switched to this Super Lube multi-purpose synthetic grease. There is another tube of this. They look identical. It's a little bit more expensive. So this is just a multi-purpose synthetic grease. The other one actually may be siliconized. This is got excellent benefits. It's compatible with other lubricants, outlasts conventional greases 3 to 4 times. Has excellent adhesion, impervious to salt water and road salt, long lasting. The really impressive thing I thought on this was its temperature range is minus 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. So, you know, if you're in the basement in Antarctica with your layout, you're covered. Or if you're in the attic in Furnace Creek, Death Valley, California, which is known to be the hottest place on earth, you're covered. So those are the products I've been using recently and having really good luck with, and I thought I would share these with you. While I was working on these, I made a couple of other modifications I thought I'd share with you. You notice that I'd discovered this thing had a light socket in the rear of the cab here, stuck to that diesel roar mechanism. And, you know, that socket had never been wired in. It was just in there. So it just goes to show, you know, it doesn't hurt, you know, get inside your locomotive sometimes, root around. You never know what kind of surprise might be lurking in there for you to discover. And, you know, I haven't found any with money yet, but I'm still waiting for that. But now I've got a locomotive with a rear light in it, and it was a pretty easy modification to do. And then these dummy units here, they aren't lit. So I put a light, I had the parts I bought specifically for this. So I've got a lighted dummy unit now. And just to show you here, this dummy unit, you can see here what I did. It's not too pretty. I used a whole package of JB Wheels steel stick, I guess, on there. That was an awful lot of that to use, it looks like. But wanted to make sure that didn't come out, I guess. But this is just the sliding shoe pickup for the large four-wheel trucks, is how they're sold. This is the light. You can see back in there the light bracket that holds the light socket in your power unit. This unit's non-powered, and so I did have to add that, and then this, and then do the wiring. So it's a pretty simple upgrade to do on these. Some of the other upgrades I'm looking to do on these is to, I'm going to add some LED lights in here, do a Mars light and a regular light down here, drill this out, and I can just put a regular, that lens in there, and use a LED Mars light in there. And so that's on the drawing board to do eventually. What's kind of fun about these Marx models, this kind of gives you something that you can, modify, do fun modification to. You're not really destroying the value of this or anything. So that's another nice thing with the Marx models. You can kind of have fun with them. So that's another thing to consider when you're looking at buying some of these models. These are pretty reasonable. When I was collecting these back 4 or 5 years ago, was a good time to collect these, because you could get these really, really cheaply, and they have since went up in value. It seems like your cheap stuff has went up in value and your expensive stuff has dropped down. So I don't know if they're going to meet in the middle there somewhere, but that seems to be the way things are headed anymore, because these units now are about double what it was 4 or 5 years ago when I was buying these. And I've got quite a few of these E-units. The nice thing about the Marx models, too, is, as far as I know, I haven't bought any recently, but you can still get these parts. Most of these parts, this is not the power unit, but on the power units, the trucks that are typically need to be replacing is fortunately on the power truck where they bolted in, where these idler trucks, they are riveted, so they're not as easy. But I have never seen your idler trucks with broken side frames on them. It's usually your power unit, and you can still buy those side frames. They come in the silver and the black. You have to specify the color. Same thing with these broken off steps, like this step here is broken off back here. These steps that look like this, that's a pretty common thing for these to be broke off like this one. You can buy these steps, these horns, quite a few of the replacement parts. Like I say, you can buy the light brackets, as far as I know, still, and those sliding shoe pickups. And the place you want to go to is Robert Grossman, Marx for Parts. And they have a pretty good selection of parts still. I don't know if they're still producing that many. I mean, some of those parts are reproduction, or for the most part, most of them are probably reproduction anymore. So, if you're looking to have something you can kind of have fun with as far as making changes and modification to, these are a good model to do that with, and it's a point of discovery. So I wouldn't overlook them. I mean, because you can do a lot with these. So something to consider when you're out looking, and have fun. Okay, this is a moment we see how all our hard work paid off. starting out here, I think we'll start out with the Santa Fe. We'll check out that diesel roar feature. I've got passenger units on both of these. Marx, they don't have a neutral, so you kind of have to give them some weight to anchor them in place just so you can get these things to not move. It's going to move anyway, so that's that one. So yeah, that wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be. Are you guys as disillusioned as I am? Yeah, I thought we were going to get more than that for our hard work, so let's run these around and see if that makes a difference. Maybe we need a little more gas. Yeah, that was a little bit more like a diesel rod knocking feature. So that wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. So that's okay. You know, I don't get the Marx models for their sound effects. So, you know, and if you want to add some sounds, it's really not that tough. There's a few easy ways of doing that out there. If you guys have ever want to add some sounds, all you got to do is just buy you a rail sounds card is the easiest way to do it. So this right here, this Frisco box card, that's a rail sounds box card. These are from, I believe, the early 90s. Maybe 1990s actually. So these are going to be used, but you know, these are out there. You know, I got all mine quite a few years ago, so I got a good buy on. I think I got 3 of these. I got 2 diesel, and the sounds are exactly the same. The diesel ones, I believe, are the Frisco, this pacemaker one here, and there is a Santa Fe. I believe it's diesel also. And there's a rail box. That may be diesel. The steam version is, I've got this one, which is the B&O here. That's your rail sound steam box car if you want to pull behind your steam engines. There's another version of this that's also steam. I think the sounds are exactly the same. So all your diesel versions all sound exactly the same, and all the steam sound exactly the same. And I can't remember. It's a green box car. I think it might be a Pennsylvania. It could be an REA. I can't remember. I think it's Pennsylvania though. Not really sure about that. But you know, these are out there. You can get these. You know, I got these through eBay, actually, probably is where I got most of these. And I got all these for under, you know, $60 a piece. So, you know, these sell typically, I think the last time I seen $90 to $100. They may be more than that now. Like I said, I haven't bought one. I mean, we can check one out here real quick to give you an idea. These do have engine, horn, and bell sounds. And you got your volume control. This one's kind of nice because it's got 2-roller pickup, because these do not have provisions to put a 9-volt battery in there, so you can have an engine shutdown feature, or if they go across broken sections of track where you don't have the rail sounds cutting out. You know, it does have the 2 pickups, so that helps with that. They also have an on-off switch here where you can deactivate the engine sound, but you still going to have capability to sound the horn or bell, but which isn't most ideal situation if you're trying to pull these behind an engine with rail sounds in it. And you can disable the engine sounds, but you know, whenever you blast your horn, you're going to have this horn and the horn of your engine sound, so that's not such a good feature to deal with. But we'll run this around real quick. Yeah, I wanted to check that out. I was thinking, so if you notice, like most of your Lionel rail sounds, you can sound the horn while the bell's going, so it doesn't matter if you've got the bell going. You can still operate the horn even if your bell's going. So, but then if you notice, the bell continues to go until you deactivate it, whereas the horn stops blasting the minute you let off the horn button. So that's how that feature works. I mean, we can check out the diesel rail sounds. We'll have our steam rail sounds. We'll have our diesel engine pull our steam box car, so it's going to be a little funny, but you know, the engine sounds or the horn sounds on the steam isn't quite that good, but you know, it's okay. There's your steam version. You know, around that same time frame, I'm a little jealous of this. Lionel made those Rail Sounds boxcars for American Flyers, and they have a lot better quality sounds to them. And then I think there's 2 different diesel versions and 2 different steam versions. So if you run across those, you're finding something that I'm so far not having any luck finding, but you know, I've seen some videos of them, and they are very good quality sounding units if you run across those. And you know, I'm sure those can be adapted to your 3 rail track. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Well, that's all I have for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and if you're stumped on the Nerdvana, up until EMD produced the BL units, their letter designation stood for the horsepower, and like the F unit, that would have been 1400 horsepower. That's how they did it. And their NW2, that was a 900 welded frame. So, but when the BL came out, they changed that, kind of like Alco. Alco kind of used their letters for the specific type of engine that it was. So EMD followed suit with that, where their BL stood for branch line, starting with that. And then their GP unit stood for general purpose. And then they had the SD units, which stood for special duty. If you notice the difference between a GP and an SD, your GPs are going to have your 4-wheel trucks and your SDs are your 6 wheels. Up until then, you had E units like this that had your 6-wheel trucks on them. So this would be a 6-wheel truck, 4-wheel truck. So your E units were a lot smoother riding, and they were built really more for speed and smoothness of ride. And, they just adapted that eventually to all their engines, whether or not they were used for passenger service or not. And, your SD units, even though a lot of your engines by then were road switchers, they were still more of your road style diesel, where your GPs were more your switcher type, did more of the switching duty. It's not to say that they couldn't each be used for those specific duties, but typically speaking, they tended to use the bigger units like that for the SD units for your road, especially in freight. Your FP, the Santa Fe, you kind of got to give them credit. They didn't always put profits ahead of everything else. They were kind of principled. So they brought that FP45 out in the 1960s. Passenger service pretty much done, but they insisted that thing would be a full car-bodied unit like an F unit, and that's why it's an FP, and that stood for I believe the F stood for full width cab, and P stood for passenger. So that's what the FP stood for on the FP45. So if any of you guys have any more you want to share, please leave them in the comments. And until next time, you've been watching Dale's Rails, and thanks for watching.